What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning into part 2 of this episode, and you should be familiar with the car by now, all the modifications that we've done to get it to this point. We do have some things left before we close out the series, which includes a lot of exterior changes. First and foremost, we're gonna get someone to come through and do a paint correction on the outside of this car to make it look as good, if not better, than the factory. And then we're gonna add all of this awesome stuff from GrimmSpeed, OLM, and Faction Fab, including taillights, headlights, F1 rear brake light, steering wheel, and complete our carbon fiber style lip kit on the rear of the bumper. Once we do all that, we're gonna wrap up this build series and give you a little bit of an introduction to what we're gonna do beyond with this car. So stay tuned if you wanna check out what's next.
Yellow Auto Sports is a business that I run. It's been open now for the last 5 years, and I specialize specifically in auto detailing, ceramic coatings. We also do tint on the side. So with this vehicle coming here, we're gonna take it through a full paint correction. So what basically that means is we're just gonna buff it, polish it. We're gonna essentially re-level the clear coat to get it to as nice as we can. So with that, we gotta be mindful of just not shaving too much of the clear and keeping what we already have, as we don't wanna risk the paint getting too much UV, because the clear coat is the protection. So we're re-leveling that, and then from there we'll coat it. So thankfully he's already washed it for me, which that helps a ton. And so now I'll just take you through the process. It will be kind of a lengthy process. We got to clay bar the vehicle first, we'll buff and polish, and then we'll just inspect as we go. And I think tomorrow I'll probably come back and then I'll do the coating, and then we should be done. So she looks good from a little far, but I'm sure we'll see more as we get closer.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. Okay, let's get to it. We're gonna walk around the car. He's gonna point out some of the things that can be a little bit better, and then we'll get to working on the process.
All right, so I did a nice walk around the entire vehicle, and I kind of inspected everything just to see what I was really gonna be working with. Now, I highlighted this door portion because usually the door handle is where people nick the paint the most. And so what we're looking at is a bunch of surface scratches. There's not a lot of deep scratches. This is a newer car, it's a newer STI, so it doesn't have too many deep scratches, which is good, because generally those are gonna require auto body work. With the paint correction process, however, we can get most of the surface scratches by re-leveling that. So there's a ton here, and there's more around the car that I saw as well, but those will all be tackled. And like I said before, this is all about re-leveling the surface, working with what we already have on the car, and just making that better. And once we get to that point, that's when we can finally coat it just to protect the entire exterior correctly. What the wash did is essentially pushed everything that was on the surface and pushed it off. Now, we could start buffing there, but it would probably be the wrong way. The reason for that being is that it would just, if there's things embedded into the paint, if you buff that, you might move the little contaminants and scratch the paint further. It's important to know that paint is actually soft by nature, so as things fly on the road, it actually embeds itself in here. So what I'm gonna do in order to eliminate those things before I can start buffing and re-leveling this clear coat is I'm actually gonna use clay bar. There's different types of clay available out there. There's gonna be clay mitts and just different types of clay. I'm a fan of the clay bar. I think it works really well. So first I'll just clay bar the hood. We're just gonna use ONR. It's a water lubrication product. Obviously you don't wanna run this dry. It probably wouldn't work anyway, and you just get your clay bar stuck on the paint. So we'll just mist the surface a little bit, get it lubricated, and then I'll just use my clay and run it across the paint. Now this paint's pretty clean. I can tell because I can't hear it. Normally if this paint had a lot of things embedded into it, you'd be able to hear a little bit of grittiness, kind of like a sandpaper sound, but I don't hear anything. I can also look at my clay bar on the inside of it, the surface that was touching the paint, and I can see that it actually doesn't have too many contaminants on it, which is great. It means that the clay bar process is gonna be rather quick. All right, so the next step here is we now have to tape off a lot of the trims. The reason we're doing that is because when I come with my buffer, the buffer does have a lot of torque on it. It can nick some of the plastic trims. So I'm using 3M automotive tape. This stuff is great. It comes off really easy when you're done with the vehicle, and it doesn't leave any residue on the surface, which is one of the things that if you're using like home painter's tape, which would be a huge mistake, you'd be leaving probably some residue on the car, and then you have to come clean that up, which just takes more of your time. Okay, so now we have to do our test spot. Now what the test spot is just me taking my time figuring out, am I using the right combination of pads and products together to get the result that I want? Now you always want to start from the least aggressive method. So in this case, I'm going to be using my Roops 21 dual action polisher. This is one of the nicer ones. However, you can find cheaper ones on Amazon that also will do the job. But this one's just nice. It's got nice ergonomic when you hold it with little vibration. I'm using a Lake Country foam pad. This is a less aggressive method of cutting. Because I didn't see anything too aggressive on this paint, I'm not gonna go with the most aggressive. That would be jeopardizing too much of the paint, which we don't need to get to that point if we can just do a minimal effort to get to where we want it to be. So we're gonna test this out. We're gonna be using a product too called The Last Cut. This is a single step compound, so it actually polishes the paint as well as cut the paint. So it's a buffer and a polisher all in one step. It's a one-step product that I've been using for a long time. It works really well, leaves a really nice finish. So we'll just start with that first. We do have this section divided in half. It is a part that I noticed had swirls across the surface. I'm gonna correct just one side, and then I'm gonna take this tape off, and then I'm gonna visually look at both sides. And if that gives me the results that I'm looking for, then we'll know we can stick with that. If not, we'll have to go more aggressive. So we'll test that out first. So as I was polishing there, I just wanted to have enough pressure on my dual action orbital so that I can cut, but I wanted to still have it the orbital portion. With these machines, they're really nice. They actually have a fail safe. If you put too much pressure on the machine, it'll stop orbiting the way that it's supposed to, and that's when you gotta back down a little bit. Now I like to also feel the paint as I'm doing this. There is one thing, if you put too much pressure on your polisher, the paint can get really hot and then it can swell. So we want to minimize that. Now, if I had a paint meter, which actually a heat thermometer, I could flash this and see how hot I got the paint. Now, unfortunately, I forgot that, but I can always, through experience, know that if I touch this paint, if it's I can still touch it, it's generally not hot enough. Now, if it was too hot and you touched it and it was already too hot, we've probably already gone way too far, and by then we've probably already jeopardized the paint. So what I'm seeing here is that actually I did remove a lot of the small scratches on this side, but it left me a little bit of a cloudy finish. So I'm gonna actually try a different polish that I have that hopefully gives me more of this true black, which is what I wanted to do. All right, what's up everyone? New day today. We are on day 2 of doing the ceramic coating job on this STI. So yesterday, as you guys probably saw, we did a lot of the paint correction. Just worked on really getting that paint refined as good as we could. We took it outside, we took a look at it outside. Paint looked great. Real world view, natural lighting is always the best. And today we're just gonna strip any solvents that might be left from the compound. So that's from the polishing products that we were using yesterday. We're gonna strip all that off with some isopropyl alcohol, get the surface to be bare bones, and then we'll apply ceramic coating. Crystal Serum Ultra from G-Technique is what we're gonna be installing today. That's the 9-year coating. So we'll take you through that process, and after that, we'll get you some nice shots of the car so you can see exactly what the car looks like once it's all nice and complete. Okay, so we just wiped down the surface of this paint and got it all stripped down to its bare paint. Now we're gonna do Crystal Serum Ultra ceramic coating. This is from a company called G Technique. They're out of the UK and out of Atlanta here in the US. But the Crystal Serum Ultra, what it's gonna do is gonna provide a nice protection to the paint. It's a chemical resistance from anything outside elements that can fall onto the paint. It also boosts the paint and it's gonna enhance the black here. So we'll apply it. It takes not too long. We'll go through the process and then we'll show you live shots of this car.
Well, it looks like 2 is all wrapped up on our STI, and I gotta say, it looks amazing. Dare I say, better than new. It really shines with the flake that's on the OEM paint, and now that we've gotten outside in the real world sunlight, we can really see how good of a job he did. So why don't you just recap what you did to the car over the last, 10 or so hours, and tell us a little bit more about where people can find you if they want similar services, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, for sure. So the car just went through full paint correction, buffing, polishing, which you probably saw all those steps, and then coating it this morning is what we did. So it did take a little bit of time. Sometimes you got to go back and forth to touch up areas that you might have missed. But overall, I think the car came out beautiful. I think we got it outside here. We can really see what it really looks like out in the sun. And yeah, I'm satisfied with the product. I'm happy to hear that you guys are too. Otherwise, you can find me on Yellow Auto Sports on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. On YouTube, it's more of teaching you detailing things, so you might want to subscribe to that and just see what that's about. Otherwise, if you're in Twin Cities area, if you got detailing needs or window tinting needs, just give me a holler and we can try to line you up.
Yeah, and we highly recommend Yellow. Obviously, they did a great job on this car. And if you guys want to know a little bit more, we did a Q&A, a live session, and that's going to be on our Instagram and IGTV. You can always go back if you're watching this video. There we get a little bit more in depth about the processes and do a lot of question and answering from our fans. And so that's kind of a great learning resource. Like Tu said, his YouTube page is great for learning, and then overall just supporting. If you're in Minneapolis area, if you're local, you guys support GrimmSpeed, support the other companies in the area as well, just like Yellow. So we want to give a shout out to them one more time. You guys are going to see plenty of beauty shots of this car coming up. But hey, we'd love to have you out here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So we've got plenty of stuff to install today, but I think we're gonna start with these OLM rear carbon fiber style lips. Now, if you recall, we already have the front lip equipped on this car as well as the side skirt extensions. They fit awesome, they look awesome, and really these are the last missing pieces. So let's equip these first, and then we're gonna move on to the front of the car and do the headlights. Well, that was super easy. All I had to do was drill a couple holes and then use the supplied hardware to mount it. It's on there very nicely. It's not going anywhere. And it completes the rest of the kit that we have, those side skirts, that front bumper lip. We'll get some images and show you exactly how it looks, especially when everything is all done in this car. I am excited for this piece. So I'm gonna finish out the other side and then I will meet you guys up front to pull the bumper and start working on those headlights. So we've got the front bumper pulled. That was pretty easy, just a couple of bolts and a bunch of pop clips and it came right off. The OE headlight popped out pretty quickly as well. And I am very excited to put these GrimmSpeed headlights in. They're a lot more aggressive over stock and they also have that red and black theme that we've continued through the car. So the guys over at GrimmSpeed gave us a couple of plug and play harnesses that we're gonna install. We won't do a step-by-step because Kevin from GrimmSpeed already posted it on their YouTube page. If you guys get these headlights and need the install guide, check that out. So we're just gonna run through it and I just wanna see what it looks like with the bumper back on and the functionality turned on these. All right, so I think we're almost ready to turn these headlights on and see how they look. It looks like a mess or a tangle of wires here, but everything is plug and play. The only thing we have left to do is to put this relay under the dash and then I can pop these on. We'll see what they look like. All right, we're all done with the headlights. Now we're at the back of the car to change these taillights out, and we've got the GrimmSpeed lights to replace our OE with. They are more aggressive and are gonna match the front a lot better. So it starts with popping the trunk, getting the interior trim out of there, removing these factory taillights and sticking these in. Should be pretty easy, theoretically. We'll see how it goes. All right, so that's a wrap on the headlights and the taillights. We've got sequential both in the front and rear now. They are significantly more aggressive over the stock units, and they look great on the car, really going for that OEM Plus look all over. So big shout out to GrimmSpeed and OLM for making a quality product, making the install super easy, plug and play, and really making my job incredibly easy by being able to just put these in without any sort of splicing or anything that you used to have to do to these type of products in the past. Now really the only thing we have left on the exterior is the OLM F1 brake light. It's going to go right here in place of this trim piece and really kind of complete the look of the rear end of this car. After we're done with that, we're going to hop inside and finish things off with the Faction Fab steering wheel, and that might just be a wrap on this episode with a little extra bonus to come at the end, so stick around. That third brake light is now in, and I just wanted to show you guys how easy they make the wiring for these. So this is the wire from the brake light itself, plug it right into the supplied harness, and then you would unplug the taillight, which we just changed out, and basically it becomes an intermediary plug and play kit through there, and now we should have a fully functioning third brake light just that easily. Well, now that the exterior modifications are all wrapped up, we've got one thing left to do, and that is the Faction Fab steering wheel. Now, this is going to be a direct replacement for the OE, but it's going to feel better, it's going to look better, and hopefully heighten our driving experience just a little bit more. So let's throw it in the car, and then we can talk a little bit more about it. All right, so we've got the OE wheel out, and removal is actually pretty easy. On these newer generations, it's just a couple of clips that you need to locate, and the airbag pops right out. Now we're left with this, and really the next step is to transfer over all of these components onto the Faction Fab steering wheel. All right, we're all finished up with the Faction Fab steering wheel install, and it was relatively easy and well worth the effort. I would say we've kind of got an OEM Plus look going on now. Now, we opted for the suede and the leather version. There is an all leather, there's a carbon fiber version, but this one sort of fits our interior the best. Not only does it have this red positioning stripe, but the red stitching, and that matches the rest of our interior on the seats and on the dash. So now that we've got it on, I'd like to take the car out and kind of give you a recap and some of my impressions of the build overall. And then we're gonna leave you with where we're gonna take the car in the near future. I think you're gonna wanna stick around for that because we do have some exciting plans and some new products on the horizon. So we started off things nice and easy with this build. We popped the hood and just took a look to see what we could upgrade. There's a lot of OEM plastic pieces and things that don't look so good in there. So we got rid of those. We replaced them with the GrimmSpeed dress-up pieces, just making everything look a little bit better. We also threw in a couple of performance items that don't require tuning. That was the panel filter and the post-MAF hose. So gained a couple of horsepowers without having to tune or modify the car. Then we went to the exterior and made that a little bit more aggressive. We threw on some of the entry-level favorites, the license plate relocation kit, the delete plate, things like the windshield banner and some decals, without going overboard with the aggressive styling. Now after that, we went into the stage packages. So stage 1, 2, and 3, and that's really where we see a lot of the performance gains when we're doing things like boost controller, intake, full exhaust, intercooler, and you guys saw those on the earlier episodes. If not, check back on them. We kind of talk about what sort of power it made, what kind of changes we saw out of it. We also hit the exterior a little bit harder, did some of the carbon fiber style dress-up pieces, which made the car look a little bit better, and along with the stance that we got from the coilovers, we also did the brakes while we were underneath, so we upgraded the handling and the overall chassis rigidity and the looks of the car all in one. So really what that did is it came together to be a total package of what the average person would do. Now with all that being said, I did mention there was going to be a bit of a surprise at the end of this video, and that is that this car isn't actually done being a product test bed for us. We have a new product under the hood of it that we are currently testing and have been for a while now. I would say by the time this video is out, we're probably going to be within a few months of actually releasing it. Now I can't go into a lot of detail, but what I can say is it will be an upgrade from our stage 3 power right now. So we are currently making more power. This car is a heck of a lot of fun to drive, and this upgrade for you stage 2 and stage 3 STI guys is going to be really exciting and something that a lot of our fans have sort of seen and expected us to make at some point, and we've kind of stepped it up to that next level of GrimmSpeed with it. And so hopefully you guys are excited with that description. You can stay tuned to our YouTube, our Instagram, any of our social medias as we're going to start teasing the product and releasing more information. And we just want to thank you for watching this series, for tuning into all of the episodes. If you haven't, they're all out there. Go watch them, hit them with a like, reshare them, and stay tuned for more. We're going to be doing more on this car, more on our other shop cars, more employee builds, things like that, because you guys have encouraged us to do so. So thank you, and we'll see you in the next episode.